Hey guys, this is Verneer for CardRunners.com, bringing you the 10th and final episode of Building Good Poker Study Habits, 10 Steps to More Mindful Poker. So in this 10th and final episode, we're going to analyze 5 or more hands where you play the turn in the river, heads up in position in a single race pot without initiative. So this is the flip side to what we did in step number 9, where we had initiative but did not have position. And an overwhelming majority of hands that you play are going to be heads up and in single raised pots. So we're looking at in position play without initiative and out of position play with initiative. So let's take a look at the filters. And this is actually from last week. So here is what I would change. Pre-flop PFR, we're going to change that to false since we are not going to have initiative. And did 3-bet, false. Last act on flop, that's going to change to true. Players on the flop is still 2. Saw river true. Saw turn true. Face pre-flop 3-bet is false. We want our pots to be single raised pots. And everything else looks good. So let's take a look. Looks like 196 hands. And let's get a quick look at the results graph. Looks pretty good. And let's look at showdown winnings. So relatively flat. Okay, let's take a look at the hands and let's analyze them. So we'll just start at the top and go from there. Pocket tens. Looks like I don't have any hands on the player, but versus a early position raise, it's a fairly standard call on the button. And he checks, which is weird. I'm not sure why somebody would check there. Usually it's for pot control, but it's just such a common spot to be continuation betting. Either way, I'm going to bet and try to get value. The turn is a king. He could certainly be doing that with ace-king. His check on this flop just kind of confuses me. It goes check-check. I don't see a lot of value in betting the turn. And the river's a jack, which is a pretty bad card for me. And he bets quite large, and I think at this point it's a fairly straightforward fold. I only beat a bluff, and this would be a very kind of like backwards convoluted bluff. So I think his frequency of bluffing here is going to be small. So I like betting the flop. I like checking the turn, and I like folding the river. So that's what I did, and that's the hand. Kind of curious to see why I called here pre-flop. Let's find out. I call in position. I'm not crazy about this. I think that this is marginal at best, probably a fold against some players. This should be a fold more often than not. So he checks, and I check behind. I think if he checks here, I should stab once and go from there. He checks again. I just don't like the way I play the hand. So I think if he checks on that flop, I should fire. Queen 10 suited versus Ivy Jeffrey, who again is one of my friends and definitely a very strong player. Flop comes, gives me top pair. He checks. I bet. He calls. Turn is a king. He checks. I bet again. I like my bet here. And he ends up folding. So, again, I'm not sure what kind of hand he check calls there, but definitely a bet on the flop and definitely a bet on the turn. He could have a weaker 10. He could have a hand like 8s or 9s. Although I'm not sure why he would check call 8s or 9s. He might just have complete air. And, although a complete air, I think he's going to bet. So, again, I'm not sure what he's check calling the flop and then check folding the turn other than a hand. Maybe even a hand like 5s that just doesn't want to bet the flop.